One, two, three, let's go!
Done. We're recording. Carson, once
Okay.
again, thank you so much for giving me some of your time. Not just now, ever since I've talked to you on LinkedIn and asked you to mentor me on writing my book, you've been such a treasure and helping me and guiding me with a lot of very helpful information. And I thought it would be selfish if I would keep all those things for me. It's about time to share them with all the people that are following our project. So, Carson, I would like you to tell us a few things about yourself, because if I will start, I will talk for 2 hours, because I always talk about you to all of my friends. So now I will let you do the job, and then I want to talk a bit about a specific chapter from your book on leadership, and I will tell you what about it after. So first, Carson, tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I'm just going to reciprocate the pleasure and actually, I feel very humbled about your reaching out to me for mentorship and counsel as you endeavor on the project in Romania around differentiation between bosses and leaders. So thank you so much, and thank you for this opportunity. Uh, uh, my name's Carson Sublett. I live in South Carolina, which is in the southeastern United States. Uh, I've I'm an older guy, so this is my last annual uh, period of time being in the 50s. So getting ready to have a milestone in 2021, and through that I've been blessed with just a wonderful career over 30 years working in different corporate roles, starting in really a pivotal role out of my university, working on a night shift in a cotton mill manufacturing cotton yarn and working with a group of people and literally let me leverage some of the learnings that I had growing up and playing sports, and understanding organizations, understanding what motivated myself and what could and would motivate other individuals to be their best and what kind of environment that took for them to work in. So I've worked predominantly in my career in the pharmaceutical industry and biotech industry. I have focused primarily in leading operations, manufacturing organizations that produce phenomenal medicines that have enhanced and or saved many lives, and a lot of uh, personal pride in the organizations and the people I got to work with, who intellectually, scientifically, technologically are so gifted and superior in my capabilities in those areas. But yet, what could I bring as a leader to these wonderful people was around how do we put in place an organization, a work environment, a culture that allows those individuals to truly explore and accentuate beyond their own desires what they could achieve individually and collectively as a team. And as I went through my life and career, I found, and I'm probably getting into subject but off subject, but what I found through
Perfect.
that time in career is, yeah, for all the people that are in positions with a boss title, there's there's really not that many leaders, true leaders that would inspire me. Actually understood what I needed to be successful, and beyond that, I don't think cared and didn't even ask really how good we could be with proper leadership in terms of focusing on what I coin as my three leadership principles, which we'll get into, that drove me through my career in leading organizations. And I guess I'll put just this billboard out there that, you know, the, organizations that I was blessed to lead just delivered tremendous results in terms of where they were when I joined them and where they were when I left. Light years difference, and realistically, I didn't introduce anything other than the culture that was needed to be in place for those brilliant people to be successful and making this business tremendously valuable to our clients and customers around the world. Outside of that, I love sports. I love being outdoors. I love my family. I'm blessed with a wife. We've been together since 1984, married in 85. Just a wonderful life partner. And I'm blessed with two just wonderful young men and my sons. Celebrated a 32nd birthday last week with my eldest, and my youngest and his wife live in Dallas, Texas, and he's 27, and they're both doing well, and they actually listen to old dad, which is good.
That's good.
But just blessed with family, and just happy with life. And what am I doing now? I'm focusing on mentorship, coaching, working with leaders. My authorship of my book was a catalyst for that, encapsulating 16 real life experiences that I lived through and lessons I've learned. They go back as far as when I was in the 7th grade, which I think I was 13, 14 years old, up into the end of my career. And not only just the situations, real life experience, but what did I learn from those? Because I've always been a reflective learner and want to garner from what I learned. What would I insert into my thinking, my behavior, and how I lead from those experiences? And I wanted to capture those, and I did it in a book, and I continue to build on those. But that's me in essence. It's probably too long-winded for you and your audience.
No, because you've already answered a few of my questions just from you presenting yourself, so we're quite on point. Okay, so you already know about our project. You know it quite close, and I will tell you that so far. And I will try to share the screen. I really hope the internet connection is going to be really nice to us and we're going to have a good connection. What we actually discovered during the project, and I want your thoughts on it, we've spoken to a lot of employees, we've spoken to team members, and we've also went and spoke to managers and so-called bosses or leaders, and we try to understand how do each one of the sides, because apparently it's a side, there are two sides to the story, like the employees and the managers, which are either leaders or bosses according to the employees. So we tried to see what do you each side understand about leadership. What does it mean for you to have a good leader or to be a good leader? And when we've talked to managers, we've heard a lot of stories about how you have to push people to reach KPIs and how everything is about properly understanding business objectives. And we've heard a lot of operational stories. And when we went and talked to the people, we got a lot of answers, and we tried to kind of summarize them in 4 categories. And in the end, what comes out is that people are looking into their leaders to find ethics, vulnerability, humanness, and empathy. So we have all the people expecting these 4 characteristics from their managers, and we have the managers considering that people are actually waiting for the managers to be very operational, full of know-how, and to just make the business successful. So we're like, okay, I think there's something wrong in this picture. These sides are not communicating and they are not calibrating their ideas of leadership. So I was curious. Of course, I have your book, Bosses Are Hired, Leadership is Earned. I have read it. I have found a lot of very interesting facts in it and a lot of inspiration. And I'm curious from your point of view, what what happens? Why are not those managers connected to the needs of their employees? Why are they so focused on business and operations and they forget, or maybe they never knew, the fact that the asset of the company are the people working for it? How do you see this?
Yeah, to me, and I'm a pretty simple person, and I'll state it simply. From my experience, a differentiation in thinking and positioning of a manager, they come into an organization, into work, thinking that it's about them. It's about what they want. It's about what they want to have happen. And every person that works in an organization knows the business wants to be successful. They know they want the KPIs to be achieved and exceeded. Everybody knows that, but it's not about us. It's about us because we do it. A leader comes in clearly recognizing it's not about me, it's about them. It's about the people. And I hate using them because that brings in they, and I always wondered who they were because they do a lot of things wrong. And I don't know if that translates language wise, but I want to know who they are. And actually, as a leader, I'm an employee like everyone else, and I have specific things that I'm accountable for, and the organization must hold me accountable for those as well. So you've got to be up this servant leader, which is really what you must have in your mindset. Then you've got to walk into your business day to day and understanding your role is simply, what can I do to make these individuals who report to me be more effective, efficient, and I'll say this, have easier jobs.
Yeah,
That's
crazy
my role.
idea.
And
What if we focus on this?
yeah, yeah. And so, I'll introduce my 3 leadership areas of responsibility. Every organization, every team I work with, up front, I said, this is what you can expect from me. This is what I will focus upon. And this is what I want feedback from you on how I am doing. Number 1 is having the right team in place. The right team is always evolving, always changing, always developing. It doesn't mean you're changing this person from this role and bringing in this new person for that role. It can mean that, and does at times. But that right team also must be always developing and growing and learning, not only as individuals, but also as a team collectively, and how they function and work together. Right. So that right team has to be a clear area of focus by the leader. And to do that, you've got to be able to not just listen, but hear, not just see, but observe. You've got to go in without projecting your thoughts, but hearing what's going on, seeing what's going on, to truly understand if it's the right team, if they're in the right positions, are they developing properly? Because that team, and that could be a leadership team, could be an organization, or the business. So that's number 1 is right team. Number 2 is the organization clear about what success looks like. So there's so many organizations that I've been in, that have come into, or the individuals I work with, that they're shooting in the dark. What does success look like? And it can't be a dashboard with 32 KPIs on it. I mean, yeah, we got that. But what is it we want to achieve as an organization? Do we want to be a provider of services that make a difference in people's lives? Do we want to create the best toy that will inspire and energize young minds. I mean, what is it that ultimately the organization is striving to do? So that's very important for the leadership team, the organization, to develop that, define that. But from a leader's perspective, a leader has to be able to communicate that effectively to the organization so they understand it, not only understand it, but know contributions they will be making to make that success a reality. So you got to connect the dots. Here's success. Here's me. If I do X, Y, and Z, I'm contributing to the success of the organization. That's critical because individuals, if they don't know what it is or how they contribute, then it's just a poster on the wall. Mm-hmm. So you've got to have that clarity, and you've got to really be pointed and thinking about communicating, and not just one time, but over and over. And actually through your actions, you demonstrate by walking around, talking, understanding. So this activity you're working on, how does that connect to this success goal? So you make it become part of the culture, which to me leads to the third area of responsibility. So it's right team, right view and knowledge of success. The third is the right environment for that right team to achieve that success. And what does environment mean? It means a heck of a lot. It means, is the facility proper? Are the tools needed there? Are the materials needed there? Are the procedures right? And the big one, the big C, is the culture right? Is the culture such that I, as an individual who have an idea that may not even be in my area, am I safe? Am I comfortable in sharing that and bringing forward those ideas? Because this underpins the values I have, and one of my value leadership perspectives is all of the ideas of how we can achieve success have always been located in the hearts and minds of the people that I work with. How do you unlock that? That's the critical thing. So those three areas are, to me, just so important for differentiating between a boss and a leader, because a leader is there to, and I've had this shared with me by an individual, and I put it in my book as a quote. An individual came to me and said, Carson, you're different than the individuals who have been in your role in my business before. While they got things done by lighting a fire underneath us, you're getting more done by lighting a fire inside of us. And that's really the goal. And that differentiates between the classic manager boss versus that servant leader who understands their role there is to ensure the organization succeeds.
That makes so much sense, and you've actually raised up a very valid point regarding servant leadership. I actually see that in Romania, this is not a very common, well-known concept. Like if I talk about leadership with most managers, they tell me about transactional leadership, situational leadership, I don't know, laissez-faire leadership, but I don't hear many talking about servant leadership, which is what I hope is going to change, at least with the appearance of bosses versus leaders in Romania. We're really going to try to push this concept because I really feel it brings the most value for the employee and for the company in the end, because it just goes both ways. Now, my last question regarding this topic is, I'm going to give you a bit of context first. So, talking to the people, you just get this like, the managers are the guilty ones. They're the boogeyman. I'm super okay. They're the problem. So I really didn't find that very fair because I've worked with so many amazing managers in my career, and I saw how sometimes the pressure, the organization, the lack of tools and resources sometimes actually transform some very nice people into bosses. So, what I tried to do when talking to people about this project was like to bring a little bit of empathy for the managers. Like, come on, let's just put ourselves in their shoes. Because if we're asking the managers to look at the employees' needs, I think it should go both ways. And I actually found in your book, chapter 6 says leaders have issues too. And it was like, yeah, they do. They do have issues too because they're only humans after all. And I would like you to tell me, like, what do you think are the three main challenges that a person that's developing into a leadership role has?
Oh, good question. So, and there's probably a lot more than three, but
Let's say the
you know,
first, most important three ones.
yeah. Um, for individuals, number one, the organization that they're in can often be the biggest barrier to truly being a leader and truly delivering the servant leadership required for an organization. And let me clarify what I mean by that. In my life, in my experience, I've had more challenges overcoming those that I reported to in a corporate office, in an executive suite, that knew my business and organization from a spreadsheet, but not from the ground where the work is actually performed. And oftentimes, these individuals, brilliant, successful, no business, no numbers, metrics, strategy, even very, very successful. But the execution piece that has to be delivered via organization of individuals and people, that in itself is missed on them. And having that lack of knowledge became a barrier because they didn't believe it. They didn't understand it. It wasn't in their DNA to work that way. So that to me is a huge challenge for developing, is fighting against your own organization. There's ways to do that, but that's a tough one. Number two, there are difficult and tough aspects of leading and managing. You will, like it or not, have to sit down and critique and do performance appraisals of individuals. You do have to provide feedback, both positive but also corrective. And this is uncomfortable for people. So understanding really where you're coming from in your ability to develop, shape, direct, counsel, and mentor individuals is a big barrier, because you've got to come outside of the normal tendency that I don't want to tick somebody off or I don't want to offend somebody, but you remove the skill set to remove yourself from that is to talk in specific terms. And literally, it's not the person, it's the behavior, or it's the ability to deliver. And at the end of the day, there are some individuals that just aren't capable of doing some jobs. But that's tough. It is what it is. And so that's a barrier at times. Number three, let me think. I had it in my head and I just lost it.
No pressure. We can't even stay with two.
No.
They're quite valuable.
Okay, well, let's stay with that. And if the third one pops back in, then we'll go there.
We just bring it back when the time comes.
Sure.
Okay. So far so good. That were my two main things I wanted to discuss with you about the leadership role. And one last question, although I said the last one was my last, but it just came up to me, so I'm going to. What was the most valuable lesson you've got from writing a book about leadership?
Mm. I, it's not probably a new lesson or thought, but a confirmation of a lifelong focus upon reflective learning,
Wow.
assessing yourself critically. At the end of the day, at the end of the week, practicing that self evaluation, because you know you'll be your worst critic. You can't hide. You know, even in the book, and I go back to this in the seventh grade when I got cut from a basketball team, and you know the initial to blame everyone else, and then looking at myself in the mirror and saying, okay, you can go through life blaming everyone else for what didn't happen in your life that you wanted to, or you can look at say, what about this do I control? What about this can I control going forward? And what changes do I need to make? And what lessons will I carry with me? So, and that's the essence of the book, but it just reconfirmed that lifelong learning is critical, and it doesn't require you to, you can read a book for lifelong learning, you can talk with someone for lifelong learning, you can take courses, but you can also just live life and be one that hears versus just listens. I mean, listens versus just hears, and observing, just seeing, paying attention is really critical. And some of, as I've worked with people post book, as I've spoke with people, those two critical skill sets are lost, and they're really important. The ability to truly listen to somebody without your mind thinking about your response while they're still talking,
Exactly.
letting them finish, hearing what they have to say, but listening it and internalizing what they're saying, and then truly observing, not just seeing what's around you, but truly taking in and absorbing what's around you and the messages that are there that go way beyond any words you'll ever hear. So
That's precious.
I guess at the end of the day, those to me are they're key themes when I work with people post book coming out.
Nice. So, listening for understanding, not for replying, which is something we do quite often.
Mm,
Super. Carson, thank you so much. It's been very helpful for me to hear all those things, and I really hope it's going to be for everyone that's following our project. I think we're not done. I have a feeling that probably in a few months I'll just get over new data and I will want to run them by you. So we're probably going to have another one of these chats sometime soon. So thank you so much for your time.
great.
It's been awesome, and I'm looking forward to hear from you again with God knows how many questions I'm going to have for you then. Thank you so much, Carson.
Very good. I thank you. Bye bye.